A man with wounds on his face sneaks into his house to pack his belongings. He plans to run away without his wife and child knowing. 2 years later, he is in Germany working as a carpenter. One day, his boss assigns him a job. Although reluctant, he obeys and sets off on a motorcycle. While riding through the German forest, his brakes fail. He crashes, and the impact sends his life into chaos. And that was only the beginning of his fight for survival. This is Last Bullet. Soon after, German police arrive to eliminate him. He hijacks one of their motorcycles, and a chase begins. This man is Arski, a former French policeman turned fugitive. His past is filled with blood and betrayal, and he now hides under a new identity. He fled from his wife and child after killing his own partner. In Germany, he built a new life as a carpenter and manipulated a woman into marrying him so he would not be suspected. Yet he still took dirty jobs, working with corrupt French police as a courier delivering drugs. When Arski makes another delivery, the German police pursue him again. Using his skills, he escapes. Back home, he tells his second wife to leave town. He prepares cash, a passport, and a pistol to flee Germany. She demands answers, but he ignores her. Before they can leave, 3 corrupt German police officers arrive. They expose his true identity, leaving his wife in shock, then shoot her dead. As Arski stares at her body, the officers explain they were sent by his former superior. They search the house and take a bag, unaware it contains a bomb. The explosion kills them instantly. Two officers survive the blast, but are no match for Arski. He kills them one by one, sparing only one to deliver a message to his boss that Arski is dead. Afterward, he burns the house down and prepares to return to France. Back in France, Arski goes to a used car lot to rent a Renault 21 that has been modified with weapons. Since the car has already been destroyed, he settles for a regular van instead. Meanwhile, attention shifts to Alexander Rash, a corrupt police commander who had hired the German police to kill Arski after his drug business was disrupted. Rash meets with other officers who hand over a gangster and informant named Lino, who also happens to be Arski's friend. Once the officers leave, Rash's men immediately beat Lino. On their way back to the station, the same officers discuss Rash's crimes, knowing they only need more time to expose him. Before they can act, a truck rams their car, leaving them fatally injured. The ambush is carried out by Yuri, Rash's right-hand man, who specializes in eliminating threats. Acting under orders, Yuri finishes the job and reports back to Rash. After receiving Yuri's message, Rash returned to Lino, who was already badly beaten. Rash chose not to kill him directly. Instead, he ordered Lino to stay away from his business, warning that anyone close to him would die if he disobeyed. Once released, Lino reunited with Julia, a police officer determined to bring Rash down. Julia offered him a legitimate job, but Lino told her he planned to move to Spain soon. At the same time, Moss, another officer, filed a report detailing Rash's corruption. Her superiors dismissed it, claiming there was no solid evidence. Meanwhile, Lino, fresh out of the shower, stumbled across an interrogation recording at his home. The recording was of Arski, questioned about a murder. 2 years earlier, Arski had fallen out with his partner Charis, who was also a close friend of Lino. At that time, Arski faced a choice between staying honest or continuing to work for Rash. Already deep in corruption, he followed Rash's orders. When Charis became a threat to Rash's business, Arski was forced to kill him. The past continues to haunt both men. Lino remembers losing his friend, while Arski still carries guilt for the murder. He keeps the keychain Charis once gave him, a constant reminder of his betrayal. Regret weighs heavily on him, knowing he chose money over loyalty. Afterward, he calls his first wife Stella, and tells her he is coming home. While Arski looks back, Rash focuses on climbing higher. He pressures the police chiefs to promote him to regional police chief, a position that would allow him to expand his illegal operations. The higher-ups hesitate, doubting his reliability, especially because he keeps Yuri close. Known for his brutality, Yuri could easily turn into a liability. To improve his chances, Rash orders Yuri to keep his distance whenever he is at the station. Once Yuri leaves, Rash's assistant Cole advises him to confirm Arski's death in Germany, suspecting that he may still be alive. Rash agrees and sends Yuri to investigate. Soon after, Yuri learns that Arski has returned to France. Without delay, Yuri sets out to hunt him down. At the same time, Lino visits a car workshop owned by Sarah, a friend of Julia. Lino is skilled in car modifications and often builds combat-ready vehicles for his missions. This time, he comes to retrieve his Renault 21, which he had left at the workshop. Sarah explains that the car was too old and had already been sent to the scrapyard. Instead, she has prepared a faster Alpine A110 for him. Lino refuses and demands that she recover his Renault 21. Sarah drives him to the scrapyard in the Alpine A110. When they arrive, the Renault 21 has already been destroyed. The scrapyard worker reveals that Arski had also been looking for the same car. Shocked, Lino realizes that Arski has returned. Driven by his desire to avenge Charas's death, he vows to capture Arski, alive or dead. He quickly calls Julia to inform her, and she prepares to move in. Meanwhile, Arski meets Stella. Longing to see his daughter, he asks for the chance. Stella refuses and tells him that redemption requires surrendering to the authorities. Arski reluctantly agrees. Before he can leave, Yuri arrives and launches a sudden attack. Arski escapes in a car, with Yuri chasing close behind. The pursuit leads onto a tram, where the two clash in a violent fight. Moments later, Lino also boards the tram, intent on capturing Arski. When he spots Yuri, his hatred explodes. He fights both men at once, turning the tram into a battlefield. Despite being outnumbered, Lino holds his ground. While he is focused on Yuri, Arski seizes the chance to leap through a window and hijack a police motorcycle. Lino immediately gives chase, and Julia joins in. The pursuit escalates across city streets and public parks, putting bystanders at risk. During the chase, Lino's car is destroyed after smashing through two trucks that block his way. Surrounded by police, he is forced to stop. Julia continues alone, following Arski into a canal. At the canal, Arski outsmarts Julia and ambushes her from behind with a gun. Elsewhere, Moss questions Stella and Lino about Arski's sudden return. Stella, shaken by the chaos, has lost all faith in him. She believes he is no longer fit to be a husband or a father. Lino tries to comfort her, but the damage is clear. At the same time, Yuri arrives at Rash's office in a severely wounded state. He hands over a bag of Arski's money and pledges his loyalty, promising to do anything for Rash. Meanwhile, Arski contacts Moss and arranges a meeting. When she arrives, he reveals that he has taken Julia hostage. He promises to release her if he is allowed to see his daughter. He also offers Moss evidence that could bring Rash down. With no other option, both Moss and Julia agree to cooperate with him. Together, they plan a joint operation with the German police, since Rash has also been smuggling drugs into Germany. Julia, however, insists that Lino stay out of the mission. She fears he would kill Arski before the plan succeeds. That night, Julia releases Lino from custody and tells him to leave for Spain. She forbids him from joining the mission, worried for his safety. Yet she knows she needs him, especially since he was also Charas's friend. After some thought, Julia allows him to participate. She takes him to Sarah's workshop, where they modify a tow truck into a combat-ready vehicle. Elsewhere, Moss secretly meets Rash to strike a deal. The officer Julia trusted turns out to be working against her. Moss promises to hand Arski over in exchange for help securing a position in the ministry. She betrays both Julia and Arski by leaking the entire plan. Rash accepts the offer. The next day, Rash gathers Yuri and his men to intercept Julia and Arski. Yuri swears he will not disappoint, unaware that Rash has already decided he is expendable. Seeing him as a threat to his promotion, Rash secretly instructs his men to eliminate him. Meanwhile, Julia and Arski head toward the meeting point with the German police at the border. They travel in an armored jeep for protection, and to pass through the checkpoint Julia asks Moss to persuade the guards. What she does not know is that Moss is with Cole, preparing to sign a deal, and has already leaked her location so Rash can capture Arski. As Julia approaches the border, Rash's forces strike, supported by a helicopter. Under heavy fire, Julia and Arski begin to falter. At that moment, Lino arrives from the opposite direction, charging in with his modified vehicle. The helicopter shifts focus to chase him, giving Julia and Arski room to fight back. With Lino's help, Rash's men are taken down, many crashing into one another. Julia, Arski, and Lino break through, only to find the German police already massacred by Rash's troops. Overpowered, they surrender. Rash then reveals Moss's betrayal. Before Julia can react, he shoots her, leaving Lino stunned. He orders his men to execute both Lino and Arski and to dispose of their bodies. Before the order is carried out, Yuri arrives in a car. Having survived, he seeks revenge against Rash. In the chaos, Yuri slaughters Rash and his men. Arski takes the chance to escape. Lino rushes to Julia, who was shot in the stomach. Fortunately, she was wearing a bulletproof vest. Before losing strength, Julia begs him to capture Arski to avenge Charis. Without hesitation, Lino gives chase. Arski and Lino clash once again, racing through the city and destroying property along the way. The pursuit ends when Lino rams Arski's car, forcing it through a guardrail and down onto the road below. Lino and Julia drag Arski from the wreck and bring him to the front of the police station. Moss, shocked to see them alive, pretends to welcome Julia. But Julia, knowing the truth, headbutts her in fury. Meanwhile, Cole tries to steal Rash's money and escape. Yuri is already waiting, ready to finish him. In the final moments, Arski sits in custody, reflecting on his downfall. By chance, he sees Stella and their daughter passing by. He longs to approach them, but the police restrain him. Stella refuses to acknowledge him, leaving Arski with nothing but regret that will never fade. So the moral of the story is, if you betray everyone around you, you'll end up broke, beaten, and ignored by your own family while the only thing chasing you is regret.